Hi class. Today I'm going to read a book to you called The Janitor's Boy by Andrew Clements. And I chose this book because it's something that I think some of you may be able to relate to who are learning to read. Some of you may be ashamed of your circumstances, but I don't want you to feel that way. I am going to read this book to you, and this boy's father is a janitor. And sometimes, as far as learning to read, sometimes we may be ashamed of our circumstances, but there's always a struggle that you're going to go through in life. And I know that a lot of you are wanting to better yourselves with your reading. So I chose this book. It's more advanced. I told you that I would read more advanced books that has different chapters in it. And I think there may be some pictures in this too. I'm not too certain. But anyway, follow along. You can press pause if you want to read this on your own first, and then press play and I'll read it back to you if there are any words that you're struggling on with this. And please do me a favor and help the channel out and click like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Okay, let's get started, and I'm going to read until I can come to a stopping point. I may read one chapter at the time. I'm not going to be able to finish the whole book at this time, so I'll read what I can and come to a stopping point. Chapter 1, The Perfect Crime. And also you can make your screen bigger by clicking in the lower right-hand corner of this video to make the pages a bit bigger. Okay, I think this is big enough. Jack Rankin had a particularly sensitive nose. As he walked into school in the morning, sometimes he would pause in the entryway and pull in a snoot load of air from the flow rushing out the door. Instantly, he could tell what the cafeteria lunch would be, right down to whether the jello was strawberry or orange. He could tell if the school secretary was wearing perfume, and where there was an open box of donuts on the table in the teacher's room on the second floor. On this particular Monday morning, Jack's nose was on high alert. He was working on a special project, a bubble gum project. Today's activity was the result of about a week's worth of research and planning. Days ago, Jack had begun the project by secretly examining the bottoms of desks and tables all over the school, trying to decide exactly which kind of discarded gum was the most unpleasant. And isn't that the case, class? When you were in the classroom, there was always gum stuck under the tables and chairs. Disgusting. Okay, page 2. I'm over here, page 2. After he conducted his first few sniff tests, he didn't even have to look underneath a table or a chair to tell if there was gum. The scent of the stuff followed him from class to class. He had gum on the brain. He smelled gum everywhere, on the bus, in the halls, passing a locker, walking into a classroom. Jack finally chose watermelon bubblicious. It had to be the smelliest gum in the universe. Even weeks after being stuck under a chair or table, that sickly sweet smell and distinctive crimson color were unmistakable, and bubblicious, any flavor of it, was definitely the stickiest gum available. By Jack's calculations, it was more than 3 times stickier than bazooka. And bazooka is like a really old school gum, like back in the 80s. The final stage of Jack's gum caper began in today's third period gym class. Mr. Sargent had them outside in the cool October air, running wind sprints to prepare for a timed mile next week. By the end of the period, Jack had 4 pieces of gum in his mouth, chewed to maximum stickiness. The smell of it almost overpowered him. Carefully steering a wide path around Mr. Sargent, he went to his locker before the next class. He spat the chewing gum into a sandwich bag he had brought from home. The bag had 2 or 3 tablespoons of water in it to keep the gum from sticking to the plastic. Ew, that's disgusting. Jack sealed the bag, stuffed it into his pocket, and immediately jammed another 2 pieces of gum into his mouth and started to chew. He processed those 2 pieces plus 2 more during science, managed to chew up another 4 pieces during lunch period, and even finished 1 piece during math. Quite an accomplishment in Mr. Lambert's classroom. By the time he got to music, he had 13 chewed pieces of gum in a plastic bag in the pocket of his jeans, all warm and soft and sticky. That is absolutely disgusting. Because, in a warm, wet place, that's where a lot of bacteria grows, so that's disgusting. Monday afternoon, music class was the ideal crime scene. The room had 4 levels, stair-stepping down toward the front. The seats were never assigned, and Mr. Pike always made kids fill the class from the front of the room backward. By walking in the door just as the echo of the bell was fading, Jack was guaranteed a seat in the back row. He sat directly behind Jed Ellis, also known as Giant Jed. With no effort at all, he was completely hidden from Mr. Pike. The only other person in the back row was Carrie Lomas, sitting 6 seats away. She was hiding too, hunched over a notebook, trying to finish some homework. Jack had half a crush on Carrie. And isn't that the case? Where you hide in the back of the room doing your class homework, hoping the teacher won't see you. Okay, and the last 2 words are on a normal day. He would have tried to get her attention, make her laugh, show off a little, but today was anything but normal. Mr. Pike was at the front of the room, standing behind the upright piano. He pounded out a melody with one hand and flailed the air with his other one, trying to get fidgety 5th graders to sing their hearts out. Jack Rankin was supposed to be singing along with the rest of the chorus. He was supposed to be learning a new song for the fall concert. The song was something about eagles soaring and being free and happy, not how Jack was feeling at this moment. Bending down, Jack brought the baggie up to his mouth and stuffed in all 13 pieces of gum for a last softening chew. Gross. The lump was bigger than a golf ball, and he nearly gagged as he worked it into final readiness, keeping one eye on the clock. With 1 minute of class left, Mr. Pike was singing along now, his head bobbing like a madman, urging the kids to open their mouths wider. As the class hit a high note singing the word sky, Jack leaned over and let the huge wad of gum drop from his mouth into his moistened hand. Then he began applying the gum to the underside of the folding desktop just as he'd planned. That's how germs are spread with all this gum. That's disgusting. He stuck it first to the front outside edge and then pulled a heavy smear toward the opposite corner. Then he stretched the mask to the other corner and repeated the action, making a big sticky X. Round and round, Jack dragged the gum, working inward toward the center like a spider spinning a gooey, scented web. As the bell rang, Jack stood up and pulled the last gob of gum downward, passing it on to the middle of the metal seat. A strand of sagging goo led upward, still attached to the underside of the desk. Absolutely disgusting. It was the perfect crime. The whole back of the music room reeked of artificial watermelon, and that gob on the seat, sheer genius. Jack allowed himself little smile, a grim little smile, as he shouldered his way into the hall. There were 2 more class periods, so a kid would have to notice the mess today. This very afternoon, Mr. Pike would have to pull the desk aside so no one would get tangled in the gunk. Mr. Pike would need to get someone to clean it up before tomorrow. So after someone had swept the rooms and emptied the trash cans and washed the chalkboards and dusted the stairs and mopped the halls and cleaned the entryway rugs, someone would also have to find a putty knife and a can of solvent and try to get a very sticky, very smelly desk ready for Tuesday morning. It would be a messy job, but someone would have to do it, and Jack knew exactly who that someone would be. It would be the man almost everyone called John, John the janitor. Of all the kids in the school, Jack was the only one who didn't call him John. Jack called him a different name. Jack called him Dad. And that's the end of the first chapter. And I remember the days in school of chewing gum, maybe not that much, but I chewed a lot of gum. It was something to make going to class a lot easier to have some gum or candy to chew. I liked when the teachers would allow us to have break time. That was like more in elementary school. But when they would see gum all over the desk and the chairs, like in this chapter 1 of this book, the teachers eventually would stop us from chewing gum. So I don't see how he would make such a mess for his dad, but I think that this is probably going to be some of the beginning of their problems that they're having with the disrespect that Jack is doing. Because if he knows his dad has to clean this up, why create a mess for him? So that's the question that I have at the end of chapter 1. So next time I will begin with chapter 2. What do you want to be? That's what this says over here at chapter 2. What do you want to be? So if you haven't already, please give the video a thumbs up, like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, Lord willing, with chapter 2. Thank you for watching. Bye.